Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, where we highlight minority business owners and founders, and we use this platform to shed light on their entrepreneur journey. Welcome everybody to another special episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. Want to start out by shouting out our partners, Valort, Brooke Sinclair, and her team over there are doing amazing things when it comes to supply chain. We really just want to shout them out for the partnership that we've had with them for this season. Can't believe that we're on episode 9. And so we got another special guest here for the audience today. We'll be having a conversation with JUAN Young. He's the founder of MELANENCE, which is out here curating one-on-one introductions to professionals and entrepreneurs of color. They got some AI, they got some amazing things behind that where they're basing some of these connections off of shared interests, expertise, and goals. But before we go any further, I just want to, bring our guest, JUAN, to the stage and get this thing going. So, JUAN, how's it going?
Oh man, I'm going great. Things are really well. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Appreciate you hopping on with us for an episode. We're gonna get this overlay going the right way. Got to make sure that we put that MELANENCE logo up there as well before we hop into things. So we got that MELANENCE right there. Want to make sure that we represent our partners when they come on our platform. But want to start things out, setting the stage for the audience. Give folks a little bit of background about yourself leading up to you starting MELANENCE.
Yeah. So on a cold Tuesday night. Back in 1946. No, I'm kidding. So as you mentioned so eloquently, my name is JUAN Young. I consider myself a serial social entrepreneur. I think, I have a passion for solving problems, particularly ones that have typically been overlooked. My mom was an entrepreneur. She ran a preschool for 23 years. And she was a director of a preschool for 23 years, and I was the assistant director for a preschool. And growing up, I never really thought that that we were entrepreneurs. I just knew that like mom didn't work for anyone else, and she had her own business. And so I kind of learned really early on about the ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship, what it took to be an entrepreneur, how to run a business, the risk of running a business, but then also how lonely entrepreneurship could be. If you are not surrounded, with entrepreneurial minds and you don't have a strong entrepreneur ecosystem. My mom passed suddenly, and I was left to run a business at, the age of 22. And a lot of people around me were not entrepreneurs, and so couldn't really relate to the struggle of being an entrepreneur and having to still get up every day, even if you didn't feel like it. And so that experience kind of shaped a lot of, who I am today and kind of my thought process. And, as I look back, I'm a founder who has created communities, a lot of different communities, whether that was in college, whether that's through doing food festivals. Community has been a really big thing for me. And as I started to grow my startup and get into this entrepreneurial lane, I knew that community was going to be a big piece of that. So, my that's kind of, without going in like all the nitty gritty details, that's kind of my background, man. I've been part of this entrepreneurial ecosystem and really about this entrepreneur life for as long as I can remember. Worked in nonprofits for a little bit as well. 10 plus years in the nonprofit sector, working with youth leadership development training. And so, again, I think some of the same things that I've experienced in my life, there's some common themes. And I think, one is working with working with and in communities that are typically underserved, working with and for communities that are typically underestimated, and leveraging the power of community and education as kind of the great equalizer.
Thanks for that incredible breakdown, Juan. And from what I was hearing just throughout you giving us that background, I appreciate it. That network piece is big for you. Obviously, like you said, the nonprofit space, but then I think it's cool that you mentioned you had an entrepreneur, you kind of had a viewpoint into that at a very early age. You didn't know what it was called, right? But you just knew, hey, mom was a hustler, right? She never had to work for anybody. So it's incredible hearing people really tap into those stories, but you touched on it. We don't know what it's labeled as, right? Seeing that, the local, we had bodegas from where I'm from growing up north, like seeing those people, right? Those are entrepreneurs, the laundromat owner, right? We didn't label them that way. And so they weren't necessarily positioned for us to be like, oh, that's something I can go into. But that's exactly what it was, right? That entrepreneur spirit, it was right there in front of you. And you tapped into it at an early age without really knowing what you were tapping into.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is like that. It kind of my mom got pregnant with my younger brother, and she was a supervisor at a post office. And she got pregnant, and she said that God told her to quit her job and to start a preschool, right? So like this idea of taking risk of, my mom was making really good money at the post office, right? Now she's about to have this new little baby boy, and to quit your job and that security that comes along with it, that's so I saw, I kind of understood that, right? How to leverage risk, how to go after your dreams. But then I also opened my eyes to like when you talked about the bodega, right? Like everything that we look at and we interact with, there's somebody who owns that, right? I started looking at vending machines different. I started looking at gumball machines different. I started looking at arcades differently because I'm like, wait, somebody owns this. This isn't, you start being as opposed to being a consumer, you start to see like, oh man, I can actually own this. I could actually do this. So you start looking for those opportunities. So I think early on, definitely my mindset started changing where we started just start looking for some of those opportunities and what were the gaps. So
thanks for that, Juan. And so incredible kickoff to this conversation here. Shout out to the moms. We just had an incredible month, right, where we're acknowledging some incredible, female founders. Beyond normal, we were pretty much on a tear in terms of making sure we recognize as many of those female founders out there, mompreneurs, which you just highlighted. They're out there, they're doing incredible things. I want to transition now to MELANENCE, right? You creating this platform, this idea. Tell us a little bit around, what was that initial moment that sparked the idea that you knew this where you wanted to spend your time and adding value for people looking to expand their networks?
Yeah, so actually, MELANENCE started off, the MELANENCE that you see today is a different version of MELANENCE. And I think one of the things that's important for people to know and understand that, my pivot game is strong, right? And, pivoting, a lot of people see pivoting as a weakness or failure. But I think pivoting can be a superpower, especially for entrepreneurs. I originally launched MELANENCE as an online education company. I wanted to diversify online learning because I realized, obviously, my background was in education. And I realized the power that representation has in learning, especially in adult learning in a professional setting, right? And so the LinkedIn Learnings of the world and some of the lynda.coms and Skillshares just wasn't diverse. I had to scroll for 20 pages before I found anybody who looked like me to teach me the things that I wanted to learn. And so I said, we're going to address this issue. And like most first-time founders, who, especially the ones who are non-technical like myself, what I said was, I got to find developers, right? I found this problem. This problem is so huge, so massive. I have to go find some developers. And so I found some developers. My wife agreed that we could pull some money. out and to get this thing developed. And, that is one of the number one mistakes, is to take a problem that a founder experiences and try to multiply that problem and say that everybody else experiencing that problem as well. As I started to, you create this product and you just know that everybody's going to love it, and then you launch it, and then you realize that you didn't talk to customers and you didn't validate that idea. And so I spent a lot of time and a lot of money building a product without any sort of validation, without talking to any customers. And when I started talking to customers, what I realized was the pain point that people really were having was they didn't know where to find the individuals directly to get the answers that they needed. They were looking to connect with other people. They were looking to build community. And so we were building a platform to teach them things. And people were saying, there's an abundance of content. We need to know the people who has the information. We don't want to learn from the just gurus. We want to know from people who are actually doing the work. And so I started looking at the landscape, and I was really discouraged because I had launched this business. I raised a little bit of capital, did a $100,000 equity crowdfunding campaign, told everybody about this venture I was doing, and now I needed to pivot. What I was launching, people didn't want. They wanted a different version, iteration of it. Didn't solve people's problem. And so I was really considering shutting the whole business down. And I was trying to look for other founders to kind of, I didn't have anybody in my ecosystem to talk to. And I talked to one founder who I went through a program with, and they were like, look, you have to surround yourself with more founders. I know it's not easy for you to be able to find them, but you're really great at building community. So why don't you just build your own community of founders? And that's when the light bulb went off, that particularly entrepreneurs of color, it's very difficult and very challenging for us we're under networked. It's very difficult and very challenging for us to grow our networks, right? And so I started talking to a ton of founders. I did a survey of over 500 Black and Latinx founders and entrepreneurs. Asked them what are the things that they're struggling with their business when it comes to expanding their business, sustaining their business, growing their business. Two things came up, which I had assumptions, but I found them to be true. Number one was money, capital, getting access to funding. Number two was being able to break into networks that they aren't already in. And so we realized that it was a chicken and the egg problem. In order to have the network, you needed to have money. And in order to have money, you needed to have the network. So if you solve one, you solve the other. And so we said, okay, now MELANENCE, as opposed to being this online education platform, we're going to solve this network gap problem, particularly for Black and brown entrepreneurs. So.
Appreciate that, Juan. We got a couple folks chiming in. Brooke chiming in. Again, a shout out to moms. Good job with benefits. You spoke to leaving that for that opportunity, but I wanted to get into, we actually had two people chime in. Brooke again on the pivot game is strong there with you, Juan, referencing that you went into it with that assumption. You thought your pain point was their customer's pain point, but you were quickly able to pivot. Got some other folks chiming in as well, just saying that pivot game is mad strong. Juan there. So again, that kind of transparency that you're giving us, that's why we're having these conversations, so people can really see what it takes. And like you said out the gate, you didn't have it right, but you were able to. You had the wherewithal to actually make that right and actually find that customer pain point.
Yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, we spent a lot of time, energy, money, but you got to chop it up to, you don't know what you don't know, right? Until fortunately, we're in a space now where now we can share our journey, right? And what we experience. And now I am telling all the founders, fam, there's a better way for you to validate this idea before you go out and you think you have to hire developers to do anything, right? You don't even know if people want it. So yeah,
I want to touch on one thing. We had Shalisa chime in as well on the group economics. So you mentioned that as well around you can have the access to capital, right? But then there's this network. The network has a play into it as well. And we've had we actually had some VCs on this season, and they've spoken to that as well, where that network is just as valuable, right, as having the raw tangible currency.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to your point, because it seems like you were about to dive into something there around, how should founders be truly like validating their business and finding that pain point of their customers? Any suggestions there?
Yeah, I'll share this, just it's very quick, but there's a story that talks about the United States and NASA, and it talked about, that it highlighted problems and understanding, fall in love with the problem as opposed to the solution. And when you fall in love with the problem, it gives you ability to look at the infinite number of solutions and be able to find out the most efficient way to solve that problem. So NASA needed to go create a pen for their astronauts to write in space. They said when astronauts go in space, the ink in the pen floats up, so they can't write. So we need to figure out how to create a pen for them to write. And so they had a contractor. They spent millions of dollars to be able to do this research, right? And so all at the same time, the Russians were also sending astronauts to space. And they said, okay, instead of giving our astronauts pens, we're just going to give them pencils, right? They saved a ton of money. They saved a ton of time. They saved, a lot of energy, because they said they didn't come to the problem with a solution already in mind, right? They really understood what the problem was. And then if you really start thinking about the problem, well, what is the actual problem? Well, the problem isn't that the pen doesn't work. The problem is that astronauts are not able to take information and accurately record it so the next astronaut can have it. So in reality, maybe there's a voice recorder that you can use. Maybe, right? You start thinking of all of these different things. Like maybe it wasn't even just a pen. Maybe there are tons of infinite possibilities that save you time, energy, and money, right? And I think a lot of time for founders, we come to the problem with the solution already in mind, right? And maybe what I realized, I thought we needed this proprietary platform and doing all that. Now what we use today, we have a no-code platform with Airtable as our database, and it cost me, I spent tons of money before, but I built what I'm using now. We're doing, over 400 connections a week on our platform. And this is something I built in a week and a half and cost me less than $100. So, and it's providing more value now than we've ever provided in the history of our company. And so, yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. And I just think that more people need to hear this. So.
Incredible share, Juan. This is why we're here. We love hearing those gems. The analogy with the going into space, that was perfect. But then you really drawing it to the present now and leveraging all the tools at your disposal. That's an incredible, where you say that you were probably spending a lot of resources, a lot of time and energy before when you first started, and now you've gotten smarter, you've gotten nimbler. You're able to leverage all this technology out here and do stuff for a fraction of the cost. I love hearing that. We got one more call out here. Jeremy, always love seeing the fam in the comments. We got to build this up together. It definitely takes a village. So shout out to my big bro. Appreciate that, Jeremy. There's love in that comment. I can tell. I feel it.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur himself. He actually, he owns real estate. He's has gumball machines, vending machines, and so yeah, man. I mean, I think that's the power of entrepreneurship. Is you not only do you get to change one person's life, you're changing, exponentially tons of families in the process, right? The people who you hire, the people. So I'm just super passionate about what we're doing, and leveraging networks and connections, because you never know who the heck you're talking to. And I think that's the main part of why we're super excited about what we're doing.
Hey, so it sounds like some folks need to be hopping on MELANENCE right now, signing up so they can get their one-on-one session with Jeremy. Because you said vending machines and gumball machines. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of money in that, folks. So if you can, just go ahead and sign up for MELANENCE right now and start those conversations with Jeremy so we can get to this bag. I love hearing that, Juan, right there. So I want to dig into the experience that you've had building out MELANENCE. You've spoken a lot to the, you had the pivot. You're figuring things out, but what's that one thing that you learned throughout this entire process that you wish you could hop in a time machine and go back and tell your younger former self to remember, keep top of mind when it comes to starting your own business?
Talk to more customers. Like,
short and sweet.
Talk to more customers. Like, you can talk to more customers than you think you need to talk to, right? Like, I think that's one thing. And then the second thing would just be build community. Because, if we look at for instance, we look at Clubhouse, right? Clubhouse is, to me, a textbook way that founders should be looking to try to build their product, right? What Clubhouse does, they say they are in beta, right? But they have millions of users, right? But part of it is they build what people tell them to build. Like, every week they have a townhouse where people submit questions, and guess what they're doing? All they're getting is R&D. That's research and development. Like, they're popping into rooms, listening to people talk. People are submitting all suggestions to them. The users are telling them what to build. And so when they come to the townhouse, the Clubhouse town halls, they say stuff like, well, we don't get a lot of requests for that. We don't get, right? So they're prioritizing what people are asking for. Obviously, they have a roadmap. And so I just think that talking to customers, especially in the very early stages, consistently, I think is really important. I think you have an idea, of what you build, right? And not so. And I want to clarify this. If you listen to your customer and your customer's telling you exactly what to build, you'll be all over the place. But what you want to do really, really, really well is to continue to ask your customers what problems they're experiencing, and then give them your proposed solution and ask them how that solution is solving that problem, right? And so you're listening to their problems. You have an open ear. Hey, this is not working. Hey, when I'm a moderator on stage, this is what I'm seeing. Hey, when I'm listening, it's hard for me to hear. Hey, there's low bandwidth issues. Okay, great. Well, we have an idea of how we're going to be able to solve this, and let's try it. Let's ask you, hey, we fixed this issue. How is that working? Let us know how it's fixed. So I just think talking to more customers and building a community, because your community actually could be your moat, right? That's your defensibility. Clubhouse the tech is not like amazing. It's nothing crazy about the tech. It's very spotty and all of that. But what their moat is, who's on Clubhouse, right? Who's engaging with Clubhouse, right? The people that are using it. And I think a lot of people can leverage community a lot more to be their moat and to be more defensible for their company.
I love that. We had Derek chiming in. Good point. It's a free think tank. Completely agree. The more feedback, the better. Would you say that, Juan? Is there such thing as too much feedback?
Not at all. I mean, I think there's few people like Steve Jobs. There's a famous quote from one of the from Ford, who said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said what they wanted. They would have told me they would have wanted faster horses. Right? Like, they wouldn't have said they wanted this car. They would have just wanted some faster horses, because they couldn't have imagined or fathomed what he was going to build, what they were going to build. And so there's this idea of not necessarily expecting your customers or the consumer to know exactly what should be built, but they know their pain point better than anybody else. So yeah, as much feedback as you can, the better.
Appreciate that. We got Jeremy chiming in again. Shalisa, Jeremy chiming in. This podcast is dope. You definitely earned a subscriber, so appreciate that, Jeremy. Jeremy It's got the chats flowing, so it's always good to have our guests engaging. And then as well, again, Derek with the free think tank, powerful there, and then Shalisa as well. The problem first approach is so valuable, and she actually noticed that you mentioned that on the Melanence's IG. So again, you got your followers, you got your peoples in here, Juan. That's great to see that the message is spreading through this dialogue that we're having.
Yeah, we're trying, we're learning it. I mean, as we go, and I just try to. I think this whole build in public thing, which is this kind of new concept, but sharing what you're doing as you're going, and not necessarily have to wait and have a finished product and go, well, voila, but building it and letting people have some feedback as you go, I think it allows you to be agile, right? It allows you to be flexible. It allows you to recognize when you went off the path prior to you spending tons of money, time, and energy on something. You're just able to do it a lot sooner. Like, why not do it in week 1 to find out, fam, people don't want that. You put that button there, people don't want that button. Come on, man. They can tell you that early by saying, hey, we're going to be putting this button here. Here's what it, what it's going to do, and people can give you feedback.
So you just touched on something. I've heard this phrase before, kind of the build in public, this idea. Can you elaborate on that for folks and just kind of share like what your experience has been, kind of the good and the bad of what you see the idea of building in public?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not like an expert in it, but like my version of it, one of the things that we've tried to do with our community is, we openly post our company's goals, right? And so like we'll say, hey, in the next 30 days, here are the things that we're hoping to accomplish. So like people can look at them like, hey, I'm looking to onboard a CTO. I'm looking to, we're looking to grow our users from, 1,000 to 2,500. We're looking to, and so, obviously not like super, like I'm not saying like, oh, we want to grow, our monthly recurrent revenue from this to this, but there's a lot of things that we want to ship, we're looking to ship this next week. We're looking to add this feature. We're looking to add, this feature next week. We're looking to engage with people. And so what it ends up doing, what ends up happening is we start building loyalty amongst our community, right? We show them that, we're a company that's trying to do all of these things to build a better product for you. And they actually get really invested in helping to see us win. Like, they want to see us win. They'll say, hey, I know somebody who does that, right? So it's like a collective thing. And I think everything about Melanence is about community and about us leveraging our collective genius to move the culture forward. And so we're a part of that as well. So that's been, honestly, it's been really great. I'm not it's a mindset shift, because a lot of people, see like, oh, if you're the CEO, like you got to have everything together. It's like, no, I can show you that I'm like you. Like, I may be a step or 2 steps or 3 steps ahead, but maybe I'm only 1 step ahead in certain areas, and we do it together. And so people rally behind that. Same way, I use Clubhouse the same way how when you log onto Clubhouse, there are rooms for people to teach you how to use Clubhouse, right? These are just users, people who just use Clubhouse. And they say they have welcome and onboarding rooms. I'm like, you have such the early users of Clubhouse feel like they are so much invested in seeing Clubhouse win that they're willing to take time out of their day to teach you how to use somebody else's platform. Now that right there is loyalty. That right there, they're able to do it because they are building in public. They appear to listen to people. They appear to be invested in hearing what other people have to say. And I think that's kind of what that building in public is. Building in public is sharing, having some people who, those super early users, those alpha users, and saying, hey, here's a UX UI design. Before we start building this, let me get feedback on these Figma prototypes so you can take a look at it. We want to hear what you think. Let's, how would you use this? How, and getting feedback from them. And I think that's that's crucial, right? Because it allows you to only build what people want. And there's in one of these books I read, I can't remember which one, but it says 80% of the value is in 20% of the features. And they use an example of like Microsoft Word. And they said, when's the last time you've ever scrolled down and clicked the format tab and scrolled down to the third, line, all the close to the bottom, and then it has like 4 other drop downs. If you really think about Microsoft Word, if you really think about Excel, if you really think about, think about your iPhone, how many features do you use on your iPhone, right? Most of the value comes from your ability to take your pictures, your ability to check your email, right? Like the screen size of the phone or whatever. And so if 80% of the value comes from 20% of the features, having conversations and building in public with the users is going to allow you to cut out all the fluff, because that's time and money, right? And nobody has that, right? And so, yeah, that's my perspective on it, and that's what's building in public has helped us to be able to save a lot of money on this second go around.
Appreciate it, Juan. That feedback is incredible there. Like you mentioned, like really drilling down to whatever that pain point is for your customer is usually like it's 1 or 2 things, right? It's not, all right, let me give them 10 things. It's okay if you're going to give them a whole suite of options and services and tools and products. But a lot of times, like you, customers figure out that 1 or 2 things that they need to have in order to solve their pain point. So incredible. You're dropping gems. We got engagement. I'm going to make sure I keep this conversation going. You actually have leveraged a couple resources when it comes to scaling your business up. Founders Gym is one of them. Tell folks a little bit around how that experience was going through Founders Gym and leveraging accelerators. Like, why go that route? What did you see there in terms of value add?
Yeah, so I participated in Founder Gym, which is a program. It's about 6 weeks. It's about a 6-week virtual program that works with underrepresented founders to teach the nuances, to help them to learn the nuances of raising venture capital. So kind of preparing them, how to speak VC, how to get your pitch deck ready, short deck, long decks, put you in a network with other founders, who are also going through the journey. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, I learned a lot from the instructors and the individuals who came to teach us. But most importantly, to be honest, and I talked to tons of people who've been through the program, one of the biggest values that I got from that program was being in the company of other founders. I mean, we had 50 people in our cohort from all over the world. And so when you think of, being able to network with, those individuals who are going to go out there, they're going to build some relationships with some great people, that's what it's all about. For that cohort, I was the person almost after every session, I would stay on. I would ask them, hey, can I stay on? Because you all talked to us for an hour and a half, but I want to talk to everybody else in the cohort. So I would stay on. They would say, they would give me the Zoom, they'd make me the admin for the Zoom for that session. And I would stay on and I would talk with everybody who wanted to talk. I wanted to learn more about what they were building. I wanted to hear about, what they were going through. I wanted to build relationship with them. So when they go raise their, $5 million round, when I asked them for a warm intro to that VC or to those angels, they're not looking at me like, who are you again? They know who I am because I've built relationship and rapport. And so, I think that was huge. I think that a lot of these accelerators and incubators, there's been a lot that has popped up, particularly that are focusing on founders of color. But I think, we have to look at this. Some of them give capital. Some of them, are grants. Some of them take equity. And so I think that we just really have to think about the network, right? And how you can leverage that network, because, capital is one thing, but I'm a firm believer that capital can only get you so far. Relationship, you will need relationship and community at every stage of your business, right? It doesn't matter if you're a founder who just thought of an idea, all the way up to IPO and after IPO. Like, you're going to always need a network. You're going to always need to leverage relationship. And so wherever you can find ways to grow that relationship with some amazing individuals at every stage of their journey, right? You need to have people who are in front of you, but then you also need to have people who are behind you who you're pouring into, because you can learn a lot as well. Like, we also as humans need to be pouring into other individuals, and you get something really great out of that as well. Like, we've seen it. Like, we have the data to show from how we've been matching and pairing people that this stuff works, and people see a lot of value in it. So
appreciate that insight there. Actually, our partners, our sponsor for this season, Velour. I know that Brooke has gone through Founders Gym. She's been an incredible advocate for it, and like you just mentioned, just being in a cohort, being amongst other entrepreneurs, founders like yourself, and it's really a global program. I can only imagine what the network, effect of, having, fellow founders who know what your business does in Africa, who knows what your business does in Asia, all these different parts of the world. That's an incredible factor that you probably can't even put a dollar amount on it, right? You just know it adds that value. You feel it every single day.
100%.
Got it. So before I get to one of our sponsor questions, I wanted to kind of have you break down the process for folks who are looking to engage with MELANENCE. Like, walk them through like what happens at from sign up to when these these one-on-ones start to happen. Like, walk us through that process.
Yeah. So MELANENCE is so how I even just talk about MELANENCE when I'm having conversation with investors and etc. So MELANENCE leverages machine learning to curate warm introductions to warm professional introductions. We can that in it, and they say, and if I was going to pass the grandma test, when they say that say it in a way that your grandma can understand. MELANENCE is a professional matchmaking service. That is exactly, and for lack of, I can use a whole lot more words, but that's essentially what we do. We are looking at, to me, I think we are us, and it's starting to happen in a lot of different places. I'm starting to see some services like this pop up, but we are essentially making it easier for people to build meaningful connections online. And so fundamentally, the way that networking is set up, just social media in general is set up for you to always be thinking about what you can take and never think about what you can give, right? And so what that means is I am always, someone told me this and I was like, this makes a lot of sense. How social networking is set up now, it's a lot of people. So it's you searching to go talk to people who don't want to talk to you, and a bunch of people trying to talk to you who you don't want to talk to. That's people's experience, right? That's LinkedIn. It's you trying to connect with people who don't necessarily want you to be part of their network. And it is people who send you messages, who want to talk to you, get on your Calendly, who want to connect with you to learn more about what you're doing, who you don't really want to talk to, right? And so if that's all that we're going through, and that's what's happening on all these platforms, how do we change that? Like, how do we get that so that we're building really meaningful connections? And to the people who have information, who's looking to give game away, and the people who need the game can connect. And what I found is, number one, you can't leave it up to us to determine who we meet with. Because if you leave it up to us, we've all been conditioned based on how social media works to go after certain types of individuals who we believe is going to provide the most value, right? And so what does that look like? What is a person's follower count, right? What's the quality of the images on their social media? What a lot of these metrics, it doesn't necessarily what school did they attend, right? What professional networks are they involved in? Are they a founder who's exited before? Here's another one. Are they even in my industry, right? And what we have found is there's only a couple degrees of separation. And So I'm saying all this to say, and I'll explain how it works for us. When you meet someone, you're not just meeting that person. You're meeting that person, their network. You're meeting that person with all of their experiences. You're meeting that person with all of their lived journey, right? And you're meeting that person with all their professional experience, right? Regardless of if you're a founder and you run, we know Valord, and I know Brooke and Valord, and Brooke may be looking for someone, and maybe some individuals, to bring into her platform, she's been doing amazing with the blockchain. And she's like, I need some consumer packaged good companies to get on my platform. And so maybe I only want to connect with consumer packaged good companies. But it's like, in the reality, I don't have a consumer packaged good company, but I run a network and I have over, a database of over 2,500 Black and brown entrepreneurs. And I guarantee you, if you need something, I can go through my database and we have somebody in there. So maybe on the surface, I don't look like somebody who you should connect with, but if there is a way to discern that information on the back end, we can make sure that we connect. And so one of the things that we do, people sign up on our platform. Right now, we're in a beta, right? And so right now we're doing some, we're getting information about how well we're matching people. We're getting information of how valuable these conversations are, but it's very simple. Person comes on our platform, they create a profile. We ask them a few questions. What's your purpose of using MELANENCE, right? Are you looking to grow your network? Are you looking to just have really interesting conversations? Are you looking for a mentor? Are you looking for a mentee? Are you looking to raise capital? Are you looking to invest? All a few questions. And then tell us a little bit about your background. Give us your LinkedIn. And then what our team does, our team goes and looks at people's LinkedIns. We read all of that. We look at and then you're going to select some available times that you can meet. So every person has up until Monday, 8 p.m. to schedule a meeting for that same week. And you give us a few times, we'll go in the database of people who also said that they're available that week. And then we'll match you. We'll send an email. We'll say, hey, Juan, here's your match. We'll send one email to both of you on it, and we'll introduce you to each other. We'll give you a few different talking tips, to keep the conversation going. We'll do a calendar invite. You'll get your link to meet with them. And it's a 45-minute meeting. And most people are meeting for a little, for 30 to 45 minutes. But it's a really cool way to be able to grow and expand your network with people who you probably wouldn't have connected with before. And we are primarily focused on closing the network gap for entrepreneurs and professionals of color. And so our marketing, you're going to see a lot of us on there, right? Because we want to make sure that we feel at home, we feel comfortable, we feel it's a safe space to be able to grow our networks. And the last thing I'll say is a lot of people, may not even want to meet with someone who's not an entrepreneur, but you'll be very surprised who has the key to some of the problems that you may have, right? Like, it may not be the person who has their own business, but maybe it's someone who professionally works in advertising, and you've been thinking and you need some advertising help. Well, maybe this person doesn't have their own advertising agency, but they've been working at an advertising agency. Or maybe you are the entrepreneur who's about to, who's doing really great, but you don't know social media because you're an OG in the game. And when you started your business, there was no social media. But then you got this new, this college kid who has never started a business, but knows social media like the back of their hand, lives and breathes social media, can show you how to do, Google AdWords, can show you how to do some things because that's the life that they live. We can connect those two, and those two probably would have never been in the same room because one person is in the UK, the other person is in Mississippi, and now we're able to provide value to both of those individuals.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that breakdown, Juan. And so what I got from that is you're telling me I shouldn't be going to my 13-year-old nephew for social media advice. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not saying that, but I just think the way things are, I think that there's going to be this wave of the way that dating, right? That dating has become this kind of what made Match.com so popular was the fact that it asked you like 100 questions and then gave you matches, right? Tinder doesn't fundamentally work because if I get to choose based off of one or two, some vanity metrics, right, that I get to swipe and say yes or no, I have no idea how amazing that conversational connection could have been. So now we just take away that option, and now you're focused on what can I get from this conversation, and also what can I give to this conversation. And I agree, 13-year-olds are horrible teachers.
They're just so fast with it. They're just so fast with the phone, bro. That's the only reason why. They just
don't do it.
They get up there and they just start clicking buttons. But yeah, I agree.
Unless you want to be canceled. They're going to cancel your podcast so fast. Yeah.
I don't want that. I do not want that. All right. So we came up with, this question, me and Brooke, as we were brainstorming on what this season was going to be. The partnership between Beyond Normal and Valorant. Brooke said something. She had this comment, and it just always stuck in my head around world domination, right? So I asked every guest that comes on, what does world domination for you look like in 2021 and maybe even beyond if you have goals beyond this year?
Yeah, so world domination for us, our big picture is, we want every professional introduction to be done on MELANENCE. Simple, when it comes to professional introductions, it happens on our platform. And so, that is, corporate, whether that's on our B2B side with corporations looking for talent, right? Corporations hiring employees, whether that's founders and venture capitalists and angels, right? Pairing them, whether that's founders and accelerators and incubators, whether that is, there's opportunities to help, companies with hiring, right? And so, imagine, right now, a lot of people are hiring, they're going, they're getting resumes and interviews, but imagine if we can leverage some data and some things about who this person is, kind of at the core of their being, right? And ask them some questions about the journey that they've traveled in, their experience, and really be able to glean, do we believe this person's going to be a good fit? That would be pretty cool to be able to do. So we envision that all professional introductions, especially for communities of color, will happen on our platform.
That's dope. I can tell you one pain point I've always had is when you're applying for a job, you put your resume up, or they ask for your resume, but then afterwards they ask you to pretty much fill in your entire resume. That's like, I don't know why it gets on my nerves, but that is just the one thing. It's just like, that is like one of my pet peeves, and I see it time and time again. So you thinking outside of just, founders networking, but seeing how corporate America B2B, how they can leverage it, there's definitely some opportunities there.
Yeah, I'm working full time in a company now, but when I was applying to jobs, I did not apply. If I had to type any information in, I didn't apply. I just didn't. I was like, maybe God just don't want me to have that job. God knows my heart. He don't want me to have that job, because I'm like, if I couldn't just send the resume or upload it, nah, fam, we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm. No,
but yeah, but think about this. I'll say this. I'm gonna shut up. And
all right, keep going.
A lot of these platforms, a lot of these platforms are focused on what are you looking for, right? But that's to me that's the wrong. They're asking the wrong questions. It's not about what you're looking for. It's more about who are you and what do you have to give other people in this community, right? So because it is almost like we have to know what's best for you. We know what's best for you better than you do, because we know you in a way that you probably haven't even thought about. So based on knowing that a person who has worked in corporate for 10 plus years, who has this type of background and has built a business in this stage, they will connect with other people who's also been able to connect. And then the last part is like, there's so much magic you'll never be able to glean. You'll never be able to pull all the information, all the data that you need from a person. Doesn't matter how much you have, because people don't share it all, right? Like the fact that, I had a mom who passed suddenly, and I was thrust into a position of leadership that I may or may not have been ready for. That's not something you will ever be able to get from my LinkedIn profile. So no algorithm is ever going to be able to pull that, right? No algorithm is going to be able to pull how many times I've pivoted in business. No algorithm is going to be able to pull how many times I've launched a business and it failed. No algorithm is going to be able to do that. No AI in the world is going to be able to pull that. And so I think the thing that we focus on is the better we can help people to tell their founder stories, the better we can help people to understand the journey traveled, the more valuable those conversations will be with whoever they connect with. And I think that is what makes us different, is if we can help people to understand their journey that they've traveled, how valuable all of those experiences are, whether positive or negative, and be able to glean that information. They now have that information to be able to share, because what you are the conversations that are happening on our platform are transformational, not transactional. It isn't, I just need an investor and that's it. No, what you need is somebody who is committed to helping you find investors. You need community. You need a circle. You need to, you need real relationship. And that's super important. And that's how I think, when we talk about world domination, I think that's what helps us to get to world domination faster.
I love it. We got some comments that just came in from Just Seriously Speaking. The first one that popped up is around that bothers the heck out of me too. They say it takes the same amount of time to apply for jobs as it does to land your first client. So to your point, right? You're gonna have to put some skin in the game, right? And that there's still that value, right, in having that conversation, that dialogue, because like you just said, the bots can't fill, they can't dig in any deeper than what I put on social media, on the interwebs, right? So to your point, I love that. And then just seriously speaking again, as you were speaking, I felt the same way. She said, "Preach," because I felt something there. I'm not sure what it was. I'm pretty sure our guest did as well, because you were really giving us some game there. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
So, in closing, I want to pass it to you. Let folks know how they can reach out, stay connected, and engage with MELANENCE moving forward.
Yeah, so you can follow MELANENCE on Instagram at MELANENCE, MELANENCE. And people were like, "Oh, MELANENCE, what is that?" Melanated excellence. That's how we came up with that. We're at Twitter at MELANENCE _. We're LinkedIn at same place, MELANENCE. And yeah, I mean, I'm on Clubhouse. Join me on Clubhouse. If you put my name, Juan Young, on Clubhouse, you'll find me there. That's kind of the main places. But I would suggest, man, everybody go sign up for MELANENCE, www.melanence.com right now. It is absolutely free. You don't pay anything. It's gonna be like that for a while. We're just testing things out, man, and seeing how good our machine learning and our team is really creating these connections, and we hope to build from this, in the next 90 days. We hope to have some really cool features added. These first group of individuals will get an opportunity to have a hand in shaping what MELANENCE looks like kind of going forward. So, we'll be sending people surveys after every meeting. We'll send them surveys. How did it go? Tell us, give us some feedback. But then we're also going to give them kind of some user surveys to just know, tell us a little bit more about your pain points and, what would you like to see from us? So, yeah. Then lastly, I'm going to start sending people emails to schedule time to even meet with me, so we can just talk about what they're working on, their vision, some of their pain points. What are the type of people they want to see in the community? How can this product be better? How can we further differentiate ourselves between some of our competitors? And so, yeah, I'm super excited about all of that. So that's how you can reach us.
Brooke chimed in and said you spelled that like Usher.
MELANENCE. I have to, man. You understand, trying to call people on the phone and Melanie, who? No, MELANENCE. So yeah, I've had to learn how to spell it. That's the only way. It's kind of like in my crooked letter, in my crooked letter, what is it? I don't know. Humpback.
What I will say is that Brooke chiming in as well, LOL. I will say MELANENCE. I'm not sure how much time and energy you put into picking that name, but it really rolls off the tongue well. I don't know why. Like it sounds powerful when I say MELANENCE. So I appreciate you picking that name and having that focus on talent of color, like you mentioned. Whether you're looking for a job, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're building this platform for folks just looking to connect overall. So again, everybody sign up at MELANENCE today to expand your network. melanence.com. Juan is all about feedback, right? So we've heard that throughout this entire interview. He wants the feedback, the more the merrier. And he specified the different ways you can reach out. We'll definitely make sure we put some of those social handles on the streaming platforms as well for folks to easily have access to Juan and his team. But again, I want to thank you, Juan, for sharing your story. It's been an incredible hour. You dropped gem after gem. These are the interviews I like to be a part of, because then afterwards it makes it easy when I have to, find those sound bites and those snippets to get out to the world to draw them to the bigger video conversation. But again, thank you for hopping on as a guest. Thanks to the viewers for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. Everybody have a great day. All right now. Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. We can be streamed across all major streaming platforms in addition to YouTube. Come back again.